Hi everybody, welcome to what should be a very interesting video. Today is the day that I attempt to put the first coat, the scratch coat of render onto my splash pool. I've been working on this splash pool project for over a year. I have a massive playlist consisting of all of the work that's gone into it so far, and today is the day I tackle the thing that I'm most afraid of. I'm pretty sure I can get this render onto the tank, get it to stay, and get it done to a dubious standard, but I'm also quite certain that I don't have the skills to do it to a high standard. So it should be entertaining to watch. Maybe I'll surprise myself. But honestly, as long as I can get the render to stay on the walls, I'll be happy. So I have no idea what this day holds. We're starting the video now. I'm gonna push on with the work, and we'll see where the day takes us. I'm very curious. I'm also very apprehensive and a little bit scared. I woke up quite early this morning at around 6:30. It was a beautiful morning. It makes me wonder why I don't get up earlier more often, because it was gorgeous. I wanted to empty my tank, which meant dragging the hose around from tree to tree. I visited my almond tree in anticipation of seeing some almonds, but they were all on the ground and had been munched by something. I have no idea what. If anyone has any suggestions about what could have stolen my almonds, I'd love to hear them in the comments. I also visited my fairly sad-looking apple tree and distributed the water around some trees on the bottom terrace as well. And then I picked a whole bunch of stuff from my garden. I've got loads of things growing. I'm feeling overwhelmed by cucumbers at the moment, so a lot of pickles on the way. And I have loads of tomatoes too. And then I decided that, you know what? It's too early. It's too early for this. So I returned to bed for about a half an hour. But now I'm up, I'm ready to go, I've had my breakfast, I've had my coffee, and nothing is going to stop me. I'm going to power through the work. Let's get down there and get started. Don't even think about it. No pooping. Do you hear me? I've seen some evidence. I've seen some evidence. What's under there? What is it? It goes nowhere. It's an incredibly boring tunnel to nowhere. That was fairly unexciting. Does look cozy though. What's under there? Even more kitty litter. You can play in here, but I have one rule. Remember, no pooping. Thank you. It really is just such a beautiful morning. This summer hasn't been nearly as brutal as last year. It's been quite enjoyable, actually. So, I'm going to start my day with a little bit of grinding. I'm going to use this absolute beast. My goal will be to search for some green bits. There's not too many anymore, and just grind them off to the best of my ability. All right, let's go. So this is some surprisingly sweaty work. I'm gonna carry on doing this, and then I'm gonna give the whole tank a good old scrub with this brush and the hose to get rid of any debris. And then I'll be ready to start rendering. But I think I've got another 15 or 20 minutes or so of grinding fun ahead of me. As usual, grinding fun turned out not to be fun at all. It's noisy, it's dusty, it's dirty. But I've had a drink of water, and I've given the tank a really good clean out, including the floor, so I should be ready to get to it. But before I get into the water tank to start today's massive job of rendering, I wanted to take a look at the practice patches I did in the last video. I did these a few days ago, and let you know what I learned. A few things. First is, don't put the mesh directly onto the concrete. It does not work. You have to kind of push it into an existing layer of the render and then lay it on and then render over top of that. I also learned that though you want the base that you're working to be damp, you don't want any water droplets because that'll cause the render to not really grip on, and then it'll want to bulge as you're pushing it around on the wall, which is a massive problem for me. Another thing I didn't learn was how to best get it on the wall. My friend Ben, who's a very talented stonemason, has been giving me lots of great advice. He wasn't able to help me with the work. He's a busy guy, but he has been coming through with some tips and tricks. And he suggests the best way to get this render onto the wall is to throw it on. He says it gets a nice grip and it's just the best way to work. I've tried that before and I have failed miserably, but I am going to try it again. Why not? If it works, that'll be great. He also suggested that I do 2 layers instead of 1. He said that trying to do this thing with 1 layer would be bonkers, and so I'm going to follow his advice on that, even though it means a whole extra day of work tomorrow doing a finer mix layer. He also suggested that rather than putting a base for the fiberglass mesh and then putting the rest of the mortar on render, he suggested that I would do the scratch coat now, the whole thing, and then I press the fiberglass mesh into that, and then that's sort of sitting on top of this layer I do today and ready for the next layer tomorrow to grip onto. So yeah, it's given me some good tips, and now I'm going to put them to practice. Let's get this render on the walls of this water tank. I really don't know how this is going to go. We're going to start by trying to throw it. Actually, no, we're going to start by mixing up a batch of render. So I have a whole bunch of render dry mixed. It's already been mixed in with the waterproofing stuff, the cement, and 4-to-1 sand to cement. And hopefully I have enough to get me through the work I need to do today. Okay, I think I'm just talking because I'm avoiding actually getting this work done. So enough of that. Let's get this render mixed up. Let's get into this tank and let's see if I can throw some of this stuff onto the wall. Okay, I've got my water source ready to go. I've got the drill, and I've got the dry mixed mortar. It does have some random debris in there. I'll try to pick that out. And a tiny lemon. So the first thing they teach you in rendering school, I've heard, is tiny lemons in the mix is bad. Okay, let's mix. A little bit more. So that seems pretty good. I'll probably finish this off with the shovel so that I can actually feel the mix as I'm working with it. But I got it close, so perhaps a combo of shovel and paddle drill together will be the perfect way to mix this stuff up. Let me get the shovel, finish it off, and get this stuff on the wall. Finally, I think I have a mix that's gonna work. Definitely not the right tool for the job, but let's give it a try and see if it sticks. I have no idea what I'm doing. Huh. Okay, I tried, and that's sort of on there, but most of it's on the ground. So back to plan A, but I did have a go at this, and perhaps one day I'll work on my technique and try it again because it is very satisfying. But for now, I'll go to the original plan of pushing it on with this little guy. Hello there. Have you come to supervise me? I actually do think I need some supervision in this case, so please monitor the situation. Please let me know if you have any quality control issues. I'm open to suggestions. I will wait to hear from you. But now, let's get to work. So I'm quite pleased with how this is going so far. Much better than the throwing method, at least for me. I'm not convinced I'm getting it on thick enough, so I might have to go back and add some more. But so far so good. It's a little tricky filming in this corner, so I'm going to check in again when I'm filming behind me and have a bit more space. So I'll see you then, and hopefully between now and then nothing falls off the wall and I haven't lost the will to live and everything is going well. So this is definitely slow work, but it has been a little easier than I was expecting. It's sticking to the wall, but I'm not convinced that I'm going thick enough with the render, so I'll try to put it on a bit thicker as I continue. I've got a batch of mortar render ready to go. I've finished one of the corners and it went okay. It's a little tricky getting the mesh on. The tops of the walls are quite tricky and the rounded corners are pretty tough as well. So I'm learning as I'm going, and let's see how this thing finishes up. So we'll do this corner behind me together on camera, and then I'll probably put the camera away and power through because I have a big day of work ahead of me, and it's gonna be a really long and difficult day. So let's get this corner done. So I don't feel like I'm the type of person that overly complains about working hard. I don't mind a hard day of work, but this is shaping up to be quite ridiculous. It's really tough. Although I am getting the stuff on the wall, the net stuff makes everything kind of weird, and I don't know if it's going to help me or hinder me when I go on to the final coat. So I'm living in fear of that. I'm sort of afraid it's not sticking into this layer enough and that it'll bunch up when I do the final coat, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't know how much I'm going to get done today. It's about 2:30. I haven't had lunch yet, so I'm going to have a little break and hopefully that's okay. I don't know if I'm supposed to just keep doing this all in one go or if I can take an hour lunch and stop and have it be okay. But that's what I'm doing because otherwise I'll probably drop dead. Let me show you what I've done so far, and yeah, I'm gonna have some lunch, have a rest, and come back at it probably when it's not quite as hot out. Okay, it's not the prettiest thing, and it's weird, and the net makes it look very odd, but I don't know, it's going on there. It's going on, and this is a scratch coat, so it doesn't need to be super sexy. I'll try to make it super sexy to the best of my abilities in the next level, but there's a lot of weirdness happening. Like, what is that corner? What's even happening there? It's quite difficult to squash the stuff, the net in to the corners without it getting all messed up. I don't really know what to do with the top. It dries quite a lot faster than the rest of it, so it's been sort of difficult. And yeah, it's kind of a mess, kind of okay. I don't know. I really don't know. This here looks kind of good. Yeah, you know, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I'll just keep pushing on with what I'm doing. I've still got this wall to do, these steps, and then this little bit here. Come here, little ant. Get out of there. So, sadly, this is the last of the pre-mixed render, the dry stuff, but I do have some of the sand. I mean, I've got a bit more sand down here, so I'll have to go up and get some more. That's going to be a lot of work. And then I do have a bit more of the pre-mixed cement with the waterproofer stuff. So hopefully this does a bit for me, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to mix another batch of the cement and waterproofy stuff, bring down a whole load more sand, and then mix up probably at least another one of these things. So the rest of my day is shaping up to be pretty brutal. I'm gonna go have a snack, maybe sit in the hammock for a bit, and return to this later on in the day. I am wondering if perhaps I've bitten off more than I can chew with this job. I suppose I'll figure that out when I finish up and it starts to dry. The only thing I'm really worried about is what the meshy stuff does, if it wants to kind of pull away from the coat that I've put on. So we'll see, and fingers crossed it's all okay, but time for lunch and a bit of a rest. I've covered the tank with this big piece of hessian that I have and wet it, so hopefully that buys me some time so I can have a slightly more leisurely lunch. It's about 6:30, I'm back down in the water tank and I'm ready to push on, and I have to say I'm definitely feeling a lot more lively than I was before I had a little break. I had an ice cream, I sat in the hammock for a little while and had a little snooze, and now I'm ready to tackle this. Before I ended up taking a break, I was feeling extremely exhausted and quite discouraged because I ran out of the mortar and I knew how much work it is to mix it up. But I just pushed forward before I took a break and I mixed up a whole bunch of buckets of mortar. So I have what I need to keep going, and I think I'm almost finished. So I'm just gonna keep pushing forward, and hopefully in a couple of hours I'll have this thing done. I've had my first casualty. This is slumped off the wall, so I'll probably just throw it back on. I'm wondering if that's because, well, quite possibly I just put it on badly, or because I accidentally left the hose in here, which has a drip, and then that would have filled this part and possibly then saturated the wall. But it's a small problem. At least the rest of the stuff is on the wall, and I actually think I have the mesh to thank for it. It looks really weird, but I think it's going to be very helpful in keeping everything where it's supposed to be. Hello there. So the sun is making everything quite difficult to film over in this corner. So I'm going to do this off camera, and once the sun has a chance to go down a bit more, I'll check in again when I'm ready to finish this thing off. Okay, the sun is going down over the hill. The camera is covered in cement. I'm so tired. I'll see you when this thing is done, hopefully, if I don't pass out first from exhaustion. It's been a long day, so I'll see you hopefully very soon. The day is coming to a close. The sun's almost down. It's got to be about 9:30 by now, and I am completely wrecked. Today was probably the hardest day of work that I've had on my little homestead since the beginning, and I want to say it was one of those hard days that was also fun and rewarding, but it was just hard. It was a lot of back-breaking work, lifting mortar around, mixing mortar, and though the plastering was actually quite enjoyable and not as frustrating as I was expecting, putting this mesh stuff in has been very tricky, and I have no idea what this is going to look like tomorrow. So it's been really tough. I was going to give up a couple times, and I've just pushed through because I wanted to get it done all in one go. so that perhaps if I'm feeling really crazy, tomorrow I'll be back in here to do the final coat. That might be a little bit too bonkers. I'll have to see how I feel tomorrow morning, because the idea of coming in here again and working is soul crushing. But I do have some ideas for how I could improve things. I can put all of the mix into the tank so I'm not coming and going so often, and have it just ready right there for me, because I'm not going to do the floor until another day, which could be a horrible mistake. I don't know, but I don't really have a choice. So the sun's going down. I'm tired. I'm going to finish up that one little footstep that I have left to help me get out of the tank. And then I'm going to call it a day and probably have a shower and go to sleep. So it's been a hard day. Good night. See you tomorrow. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my office for the day. Well, office or prison, depending on how you look at things. Yesterday, it was definitely my prison. Yesterday's work nearly broke me, and I wasn't sure. I was leaning towards not being in the tank today doing this work. It's going to be another full day, and it's going to be a day where I'll have to start and finish on the same day. So once I commit to it, I'm basically in it. Even when I woke up this morning, I wasn't sure if I wanted to commit to doing this today. So what I did as a little test was I spent a couple hours in the morning doing all of the prep, which is a huge job. It's actually the prep that probably ruined me yesterday, because I didn't prepare well enough. So I was constantly going in and out of the water tank, mixing up mortar, bringing it in. I didn't have everything handy, and it was just a lot of wasted time going back and forth. Then I ran out of the dry mix, and that was a waste of time at the end when I was my most tired. So I wanted to basically not have that happen today, and I wanted to prepare as best as I could. So I figured, why not do the prep, see how tired I was at the end, and then make a decision after that. So I did that. This morning I was moving sand up and down the stairs. I was mixing up my render, and I was just basically preparing everything. I have all my tools close at hand. I have my paddle drill ready with me here in the tank with a spare battery. I have my bottle of water. I've had an early lunch already, because yesterday it was pretty tough to find time to eat, and so I feel very prepared. Another reason I was almost broken yesterday was because I got a little cut on my finger. So today I have much better gloves, and that should make that not a problem. So I'm feeling still apprehensive, still not very excited about the day, but I'm not broken the way I was last night. And sometimes you just have to push through it. Not all the days of work can be fun. And I actually think that the worst part of yesterday was putting this mesh stuff on, which included pushing it on the wall, which was annoying, but also cutting it to the right size was ridiculously frustrating. So I won't have to deal with that. My technique for plastering, rendering, whatever it's called, is probably not going to be amazing. I think most plasterers would like to aim for a flat finish. My plastering technique will be undulating, curvy, maybe even bumpy. This is going to be the layer that defines the beauty of the tank for sure, but that's all it is. It's just aesthetics. I've already put waterproofing on in the layer beneath, and I've got plenty of waterproofing going on. I've got two things, some kind of weird thing I bought in a jar that you mix with cement, and pool paint going on top of this. So I'm convinced it'll be waterproof, and I'm going to get it as flat as I possibly can, but if I have a slightly undulating, curvy, wavy tank, that's absolutely fine. So I'm not going to kill myself trying to get this thing straight. I would prefer if you stayed out of that part of the tank. But I'm happy that you visited. I just don't want to see any little paw prints, okay? What's under there? What's under there? Not very much. I'm a little concerned about this, the bagginess. I really don't know what to expect. The top is terrible looking. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I know it will be interesting and hopefully entertaining and hopefully not too frustrating. So I'll start here and work my way to the left. So I found doing the top is quite difficult, but if I sort of make a little edge to work to, it seems easier. So if I have kind of a bit of an overhangy bit here, it sort of gives me something to push up and connect to. Another thing is working from right to left allows you to kind of push into the bottom part of it. So I'm always kind of packing in and pushing to what's already there, as opposed to trying to drag the thing all the way up through everything, which then sort of drags it off of the wall. So using this much smaller trowel type thing and doing it like that has been moderately successful for me. But again, I'm absolutely, definitely, obviously not that good at this. So, you know, take any advice I give with a grain of salt. But I found that's worked for me. I wonder if I'm putting this on too thick, actually, but I don't know. It's difficult to sort of manipulate once it's on the wall, so I try not to touch it too much once I stick it on. So maybe I'll try to go a little thinner. So this is where I'm at so far. I can see this bulging out a bit, so I'll need to give that some attention. But as you can see, this is really time consuming, so I'm gonna check in periodically at different stages of the tank. I'll put the camera away for now, and hopefully when you see me next, I won't be completely disheveled and frustrated and fed up. Hopefully I'll still be feeling good about this project and still have some energy, but we'll have hopefully a half-finished tank. So it's about 2:30 and I've been going at it down in the water tank for a couple of hours, and today is different. I don't feel like I'm being defeated by the tank. I feel quite energized. Things are going well, I think, and yeah, I'm ready to push on until this thing's done. So let me show you what I've done so far, and then we'll do a bit more of another wall and then see how far I can get. The sun is slowly creeping in, so I feel like it's a bit of a race against time, but things are progressing nicely. So this is what I've done so far. It really is like icing a giant cake. A very annoying, crappy cake. A cake where you think it's got chocolate chips in it, but really it's got raisins. One of those frustrating cakes. But having the mortar dry mix at the ready has been a massive lifesaver. It's just so easy to grab the shovel, fill this up dry. I've got the hose right here, whiz it up with the paddle drill, and I basically haven't left the tank the entire time. 2 hours in the tank prison. So let's continue on with this wall and you can see what I'm doing. So this is a little bit too dry. But I have my hose at the ready. Just needs a little bit more. Sometimes I feel like I put it on a little too thick. I don't really know the best way to deal with that, except for to kind of mess everything up like this. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's something I should fix later on as it has more chance to dry. But, oops. Oh, and there's another little rock in there. I've done my best to try to keep my fine sand nice and clean. Of course, it's kind of out in the elements, so anything can get in there. I'm pretty sure there are quantities of cat poo in there. I don't know if that improves the plastering experience or not. I'm out of mortar, so I'm gonna mix up a new batch and just keep plugging away at this. I think I have plenty of dry mix to keep me going until the end of the tank, so that's very good news, because the idea of having to go mix up some more later on when I'm gonna be tired is not something that fills me with joy. So I think I should be fine. I'm enjoying this. It's hard work. It's still gonna be a lot longer. I've probably got another hour, hour and a half left of this. So I'm ready to be not doing it, but it's not as bad as it was yesterday. And it's not 9:30 p.m. either. So I'll finish probably in good time, probably about 4 o'clock, and that's good with me. So less talking, more working, and I'll see you fairly soon when I think the next stage will be either floating, which I don't think will work because this thing is not flat, or sponging. So see you in a bit. I've been trapped in my water tank all weekend, but just look at how beautiful it is out here. Today wasn't quite as horrible as yesterday's day of work, but it still managed to be pretty horrible. This is absolutely not a job for one person who doesn't know what they're doing to try to do in a weekend. I am so tired. Yesterday was definitely the hardest day of work I've had so far in my homestead, and today wasn't that far behind, so it's been a really hard and busy couple of days. Very, very challenging physically, mentally, and I'm completely and totally spent. I really can't bear the thought of going back in the water tank tonight, but I must. I promised you sponging footage, and though I'm not going to give you that, I do want to show you around and explain what I've done before I go to sleep, before I have a shower, and then go to sleep. I think it's about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and honestly, I would quite happily go to bed now if I wasn't so filthy. But let's go take a look at the water tank. I'll show you the basically finished product before the waterproofing layers, and yeah, try to explain a little bit what I've done and then call it a night. Here's the finished product from afar, and now I'm going to scramble into the tank using this shovel as a cane, stepping in very precarious places. I probably shouldn't film while I do this. Actually, yeah, that's a terrible idea. I'll be back in a minute. So here we are in the water tank, and you'll notice, possibly, it might be hard to see with the light, lots of kind of trowel marks, lots of divots, lots of undulation, which is going to be my plastering style. And over here it's a little flatter because I attempted to float it. But basically I gave up. I ran out of time, and rather than trying to float it or sponge it or any of that stuff, I basically just went at it with a paintbrush and tried to smooth over the really, really obvious sort of trowel marks. Obviously there's plenty of trowel marks left, but I did my best. There's definitely some bulgy areas of concern, and I just hit that part with my toe, so let's just move that over. You know, it's absolutely 100% nowhere close to being perfect, but I think it looks good, and I think it'll be reasonably nice to sit on, and I'm hoping that when I do this next layer, which is a mixture of some kind of magical material and cement, I'm hoping that allows me to sort of smooth out some of the stuff. And then after that, the pool paint goes on. I'm so close to finishing this project after over a year working on it off and on. I can already taste the mojito that I'm going to drink sitting in this pool. I'm probably going to get some kind of flotation thing, and it's just going to be a really awesome place to hang out. So while I have no doubt professional plasterers will be looking on in absolute horror at what I've done, I think it's pretty good for a first time, a first attempt, and for doing it on my own with all the mixing as well, and trying to film. So I gotta say, I'm really proud of this. I'm so happy that this is done, even though I maybe am not expressing myself. I'm very joyful. I'm just also very tired. I still have quite a bit more to do on this project. Up next is basically let this cure for a week, and then hopefully next week I'll be back in here to put on the next layer, and then let that dry, and then paint it blue. I'm trying to hide from the sun. It's kind of hot out here. Okay, I'm gonna squat down here. So this has been a massive project. I'm really proud of the work I've done, not only yesterday and today, but also since the beginning. I feel like I figured out lots of stuff along the way, learned loads of new skills, and just got on with things and managed to get it done. Tomorrow I could come down here and half the render could have slid off the wall. I don't know. I'll report back if that happens. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye from this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next one. Any questions or comments, leave them below, and I think I already said see you in the next video. I don't even remember. Anyway, I'm going to go have a shower and go to sleep. See you next time. Wait, I'm back. I still have to do the floor. I forgot to say that. So I'm not as close to finishing this thing as I thought, but I'm still close. Okay, goodbye for real.